addressing this isn't a political issue because this isn't about politics. It's about morality.
This is not about politics.
You hear this a lot from politicians, pundits, and activists.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
But inevitably, when a politician says it's not about politics, you can bet it's about politics. But how can you tell? Maybe they are genuine.
But clearly this is a city that is united in action.
Well, here's a hint. If it follows a specific event and they start pushing for new laws that would have had zero chance of stopping or preventing that event, they're pushing for their political agenda over the bodies of the dead, using them as political props. The latest example is, of course, the tragic shooting in Minnesota. If you listen to the mayor of Minneapolis, he says,
"This is not about politics, this is about kids."
But if you really listen to him, he obviously is just regurgitating talking points poorly because he doesn't have a grasp on what he is talking about.
The reality is that we have these assault rifles that can reel off 30 clips in conjunction with a magazine before the person even needs to reload.
And if you get past the information he clearly does not understand, what he suggests are the problems that led to this. Well, they have nothing to do with what happened.
Say it again. We have more guns in America than people. Why? Why is it so easy to get a gun? Why is it so easy to get a whole heap ton of guns? Why is it that you can buy a gun virtually every month if you wanted to? What good is that? We're not talking about your father's hunting rifle.
And the vast majority are never used in any crimes.
Why do we have them coming in by the trunk loads onto our streets around the country? And this is not just about Minneapolis. Because you can buy an assault rifle in Milwaukee, and that assault rifle is in Minneapolis by noon that very same day.
The reality is that these guns make their way into cities across America by the trunk.
The firearms were all purchased in Minnesota, so the point he is making is meaningless. Minnesota is a state with a B rating for gun control by Giffords, a state that requires permits to purchase handguns, some so-called assault weapon restrictions, waiting period laws, ammunition sales regulations, red flag laws including disarmament procedures, and universal background checks. But no, it's the fault of other states. They need to shift the blame elsewhere because all their gun control cannot prevent evil.
We need a statewide and a federal ban on assault weapons.
So this is how liberty dies. With thunderous applause.
We need a statewide and a federal ban on high-capacity magazines.
The shooter had an assault weapon, shotgun, and pistols. If he were unable to get an assault rifle, he would have still had a shotgun and pistols. Mind you, as already mentioned, Minnesota has stricter laws requiring a permit to purchase a pistol. Even if there was an assault weapon ban, there are still millions in circulation. If someone is planning to kill others and in the process kill themselves, why couldn't they acquire the money to purchase an assault weapon even at an elevated price? Or, just do it through crime. So you're not looking at a ban of new sales, you're looking at confiscation. All these irrelevant talking points are just an excuse to call for national legislation, to ride this wave of grief into new federal regulations that restrict our rights. But let's not forget, it's not just the mayor. It's the state-level politicians who have already pushed and passed gun control laws.
I mean, Minnesota's law, they have red flag laws. They have expanded background checks.
But that is not enough. We have to do more. And banning assault weapons is only the first step.
It's their national politicians, Senator Klobuchar.
This is not about one state. This is about states across the nation.
It's their representative, Ilhan Omar.
Reminding folks that you can change whatever laws that you want. In Minneapolis, you can change whatever the laws that you want in Minnesota. But if we do not change the laws of these United States of America, none of our kids are going to be safe.
It's the lieutenant governor who, even when confronted by the state's red flag laws having no discernible difference on gun deaths, pushes for a federal red flag law.
Minnesota has a red flag law, but an analysis from Project Minnesota shows that gun deaths have actually not decreased. Why do you believe that is?
I mean, I think what's very clear is that Minnesota can't do it alone, right? That we need action at the federal level. We need to ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. We need comprehensive background checks and federal red flag laws.
But don't worry, she's a gun owner, so she could never do anything anti-gun that wasn't reasonable.
And here's the deal, like I am a gun owner myself. I think that people should be able, to own firearms.
And let's not dwell on the fact that her boss, Governor Walz, also a gun owner.
I'm a veteran and I'm a hunter. And for many years, I was one of the best shots in Congress, and I got the dang trophies to prove it. I know guns as well as anyone.
Was asked by religious schools for funding for armed guards. You know, a solution that could have actually helped prevent this.
And let people keep making this about the Second Amendment when it's really about our first responsibility, keeping our children safe.
Unlike the nonsense being spoken by the politicians. The shooter even mentions choosing this location because it was undefended. So if it was defended, this wouldn't have happened. It's never about looking at a specific incident, the specific scenarios, and developing countermeasures to prevent this in the future. The pundits even admit this.
We're talking more broadly about gun violence. We don't need to focus too much on this individual incident because...
Why not focus on this incident? Why is it always a broader conversation instead of practical solutions? Because we have seen their so-called solutions do not work again and again. They just push for these same regulations at the national level that are already in place in their state, or for more regulations that we have seen do not work, and they refused to even consider anything else. Because then you wouldn't come to the conclusion that you want to arrive at. I've never heard a good argument against armed guards at schools. The only things I've heard are either a worry that they will use the guns on innocent students, or that students will feel unsafe because there are armed guards, neither of which are compelling. So what can we learn from this? You cannot legislate away evil. If all guns are banned, they will simply print them at home. If there were no guns in some fantasy world, they would use explosives or knives or motor vehicles. The reality is that they will not be happy until they have banned all guns.
Well, there is an easy solution, though. I think that's the problem. It's just that it's the solution that is because of this fluid interpretation of the Second Amendment.
And when the murders continue, you will not be able to regain those rights. They want to blame the tools. They want to pretend they can keep you safe if you just grant them more power.
It matters. It matters. But it's not enough, and we all know that.
Then after it happens again, well, it wasn't enough. We just need a little more. If you give us a little bit more power, we can prevent the next one. So maybe I am wrong. Maybe it's not about politics at all. Maybe it's all about... If you've made it to the end of the video, please consider liking, subscribing to the channel. I also have a Patreon if you want to support me there. That's all I really have for today. Thanks for watching.